Hello, world, and welcome to a very special episode of Plugged In from YAA Electric. My name is Justin Fisher. I'm the EV expert over at joinyaa.com, where we help the world buy cars and make sure that you can get a solid deal no matter what the buying circumstances are in today's crazy market. But today's crazy market has brought forth the popularity of a direct-to-consumer seller even more. That would be Tesla. And today I'm joined by Tyler Skaggs, who works for Tesla. So, Tyler, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Wonderful. So, remind me, what is your job title over at Tesla?
Yeah, so I am a field service electrician, and I just service all the supercharger sites in West Virginia.
That's awesome. So, you're an example of how EVs can create job growth because plenty of work for electricians out there, right? Can you hear me, Tyler? We might have lost Tyler. It's all right. We'll get some Tesla questions from the chat. Are you back?
Yeah,
Oh, you're back.
for sure.
Okay, wonderful. So you're a supercharger technician in Southern West Virginia. What have been some of your most unexpected experiences as you've been working on the supercharger network? I think Tyler might have a poor internet connection. We'll give Tyler another 30 seconds to see if he comes back. If you're listening to us live, I see 15 of you out there in YouTube world. Drop us some Tesla questions. I know it's just me now. It's just me here in my wonderful studio. But thank you so much for joining us. We'll see if he can come back. Um, yeah, that's too bad because I was really looking forward to this. Let's give it a few more minutes, see if Tyler can come back. But drop us your Tesla questions no matter what. We will save these questions for whenever Tyler can return. Hey, Tyler.
Yeah, sorry about that. Had a little bit of technical difficulty.
It's all right. Everyone's just joining us. It's okay. The way these things work, those of you in the chat, you know that the first 10 minutes, there's hardly anyone here. But as people find out that we're live online, we'll get more and more viewers. So it's okay. So Tyler, you were just introducing yourself. Let's start that over. Can you tell us what you do, what your responsibilities are, and maybe finish it off with just what your favorite part of your job working for Tesla is?
Okay. Yeah, so I am a field service electrician. I service all of the supercharger sites in West Virginia. Um, Honestly, some of the most exciting things are probably number one is getting to drive a Tesla as my company
Wow.
vehicle, just the innovation, getting to use it daily, but also just the like latest and greatest technology. So
What do they give you for driving around a Model S?
a Model Y.
Model
Yeah.
Y,
Mhm.
nice,
Yeah.
nice. Wow, wonderful. Well, what are the pros and cons of working for Tesla in rural America? So we got a question in the chat. I'm gonna add the rural America part into it because I know that working for Tesla in LA is going to be a lot different than working for Tesla in Southern West Virginia, where there might be plenty of Tesla skeptics. What are some of the pros and cons of your experiences so far?
I mean, all of the customers that we get at supercharger sites are always super nice. I get people who don't drive electric cars come up to me and ask questions because everyone's interested. It's something new.
Mhm.
People in this area, in this region, aren't used to seeing electric cars. So I mean, every once in a while you get a couple people that aren't fans, and that's okay. But most people are very interested, intrigued, uh, just about how it works and how good they go in the mountains and the snow and things like that. So,
Wow, that's really interesting. Um,
yeah.
Out of the supercharger customers that you've just seen anecdotally when you're driving by or servicing a supercharger station, would you say that 1 out of 10 have West Virginia license plates, or is it less than that? What would you say?
No, you hit it pretty close. It's usually like 1 out of 10. Not very many. But when I do see West Virginia tags, it makes me happy. I'm seeing more and more as time goes on. But yeah, it's definitely about 1 out of 10.
Now, how has the job kind of changed what you think about EV adoption in rural America? Now that you work with Tesla and you're around this stuff every day, does it kind of make you think that, yeah, everyone can do this if only the prices for a brand new Tesla were, maybe $20,000 less? But does it give you some optimism, or is it the opposite because of charging infrastructure being kind of restricted to just Tesla superchargers? I mean, in West Virginia, I live here myself, and I would say that you kind of have to have a Tesla if you're going to be traveling around the state a lot. I don't have a Tesla. I have a Hyundai Ioniq 5, but I don't travel northwards to Charleston. I don't travel to Morgantown. Those areas, you would really need to have a Tesla to have enough charging infrastructure. Basically, what has been the takeaway from your experiences? Do you think EVs are closer than some might expect to mass adoption in rural America? Or are you like me? I think it's going to be 20 years before EVs are common in West Virginia.
I mean, sometimes that theme of being 20 years behind everywhere else seems to flow a lot here in West Virginia. But um, I mean, maybe not 20 years, or at least I hope not. Um, I don't know. I mean,
It's all speculation. We're just guessing.
yeah, I don't know. Probably, I'd say within the next 10 years. I mean,
You're
if you own a Tesla, then uh, yeah, it's definitely if Teslas were a little cheaper, then yeah, more people would be able to get into it. But with other EVs, we're probably there. It's probably like a 10-year range, probably.
okay. Now, I like this question from Chris Bailey in the chat. What are the infrastructure requirements to alter the charging stations to allow other EVs to charge? For example, I use the CCS charging standard. Tesla's obviously use the Tesla charging standard, but
Mm-hmm.
CCS is the second most common charging standard in North America and in Europe. It's basically worldwide. Have you encountered anything in your Tesla training or just the preparations that might indicate that you guys are going to be eventually including CCS chargers at your stations? Let's see. If you're just joining us, we are having a few more technical difficulties. Out here in the mountain state, internet connection usually is not all that reliable. So I can empathize with what Tyler is dealing with right now with his internet connection. So we'll see if he comes back. Now, I know that personally, part of my decision for buying the Hyundai Ioniq 5 was the incentives. And those of you listening out there, you've probably been thinking about whether or not the EVs you're considering receive any incentives as well, because $7,500, if you have that tax liability, that's not pocket change. That's a lot of money. And I honestly, where I live, I would have probably bought a Model Y if Tesla still qualified for the tax credit. So I look forward to hopefully talking more with Tyler. Let's see if he can join us again in a second, because I want to know what Tyler thinks about the future of competition for Tesla. That's what I really want to get into with Tyler. Competition. How are they thinking about the charging needs of the millions of EVs that are on the way later this decade? Is Tesla openly training its employees to talk about charging infrastructure adaptation? Or is it still kind of hush hush? We're going to see if Tyler can maybe share with us how they are approaching this over in the Southern West Virginia district of Tesla maintenance. So we'll see if he's able to come back and join us. You're back. It's okay. I just filled the airtime by ranting about Tesla versus the Hyundai Ioniq 5. I'm so glad you're back again, Tyler. It's all right. Like I was telling the viewers, I've got poor internet here in Southern West Virginia myself. I live in Bluefield. Are you up in Beckley?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, it's all right. It's all right. Um, yeah, well, let's dive into this next little segment. Uh, Charging infrastructure. Do you ever encounter anything in your training that might indicate Tesla is preparing to open up the network to non-Tesla EVs? The reason I'm not afraid to ask you this on the air is because I know Tesla has talked about it online. They've talked about how in Europe they're opening up some chargers to non-Tesla EVs, and the news has been that they plan on doing it in North America, reportedly to obtain some access to funding, bunch of money that they would not have access to otherwise if they were just open to Tesla vehicles. So, in your experiences, have you been trained on any preparations that might be adding a CCS charging port to superchargers, or is that all just down the road? Nobody talks about it.
So we haven't been trained on anything like that. We haven't been told that they're going to bring the CCS connectors to the Tesla superchargers. But I mean, it's been all over the news that it's in Europe and they're testing it there. So maybe in the future we'll see it, but haven't heard anything yet.
Now, this might be a better question for you. The Tesla Semi. Now, whenever I think about the environmental benefits of not having tailpipe emissions driving an EV, one of the greatest ways that electrifying transportation can actually have the greatest environmental impact is by making semis, big rigs, 18 wheelers, making them electric because of, the tons and tons of emissions that pour out of those as they drive every mile down the road. Have you guys been having to prepare the supercharger locations for the possibility of megawatt chargers as opposed to 250 kilowatt chargers?
So over here on the East Coast, we haven't. I don't know. Everything usually starts on the West Coast. I mean, that's where our headquarters are. That's where our factories are. So we haven't dealt with anything like that over here on the East Coast. But maybe here soon we'll be hearing something about it.
Okay, that'd be very interesting. Because I know that the Tesla Semi would require a lot more than 250 kilowatt charging outputs, which reminds me, that brings to mind, how dangerous is it to work on a supercharger with your job because of the high power output? Is it is it exceedingly dangerous? Do you have to really, really go through special, maybe OSHA trainings or any other types of trainings because you're dealing with high voltage?
Yeah, I mean, we do go through safety trainings and we go through OSHA training and things like that. But everything we work on is dead. We make sure that the power's off before we work on it. So we do kind of a dead live dead test. We always test our equipment before we work on it
That makes
to
a lot of
make sure.
sense.
Yeah, but I mean, even during those tests that we do to make sure everything's dead, uh, we still have all the face shield and the electrical gloves and things like that, just to make sure we're covering all safety precautions.
Well, yeah, I'm surprised I didn't think of that myself, kind of ashamed. Of course, you would just make sure that it's all turned off. Uh,
Yeah.
but, another good question that I've had from a viewer over on the joinyaa.com community forum, um, how is Tesla thinking about the possibility of more competition? I know you've got the Electrify America network that I use for my Ioniq 5. It's awesome, but it's nothing compared to Tesla's supercharger network. It's a fraction of the size, especially within our region. Are
Hmm.
you guys thinking at all about the competition, or is your vision pretty clear? You see that Tesla's in the lead, and you probably don't have to worry about job security because Teslas are so popular.
I mean, at this moment, no, I don't think. I mean, we just kind of got a jump start, but I mean that doesn't mean we're going to slow down. Like Tesla is the most innovative company in the world, and I think that there's a lot of great employees that work here at Tesla. So we're just going to keep working hard and doing what we do so we can stay ahead of the competition.
Now, have you guys been updating version 1 or maybe version 2, sorry, V2 superchargers to V3 where you've been increasing it from 150 kilowatt output to 250 kilowatt output, or are you just focusing on new installations right now like the one here in Princeton, West Virginia?
Yeah, so no, we're not upgrading the 150s to 250s. We're just installing new 250s. Um, there's no plans of upgrading the 150s that I know of, but we are installing a lot of new 250 kilowatt sites. So.
Okay. Now, are you involved with maintaining the Tesla destination chargers that are quite common in southern West Virginia? Even in the middle of nowhere, there's quite a few Tesla destination chargers.
No, so those are products that you can buy on the website. So we don't. Those are just like personally owned. So like if you see them at a hotel or like a
Hmm.
state park, the state park or the hotel, they purchase those like off the website. Like you could buy one for your house if you had a Tesla. So no, we don't work on those. Those are like personally owned.
Okay. Where's the nearest Tesla service center to our region? Is it all the way in maybe Richmond, Virginia, Charlotte, North Carolina, something like that?
So I'm not sure about South. I mean, Charlotte would be a lot closer, like to us living in Beckley and Bluefield, and but the ones that I know of are Richmond, Virginia, and then there's also one in Vienna, Virginia, which is up near DC. But they're both about 4 hours away. So
Okay, yeah, that's pretty far because that was another reason why I didn't go for a Tesla. I mean, there was the tax credit, which just imagine your job if Teslas once again qualify for the federal EV tax credit. So many more people are going to buy Teslas. You're going to be installing more superchargers, which
yeah.
brings to mind. So, installing these superchargers, is that usually contracted out and then you're responsible for maintaining them, or how does that usually work?
Yeah, so as we with my job, what I do, we just service them. We just do like maintain them. We don't do the installs. That's contracted out. But yeah, as a service tech, we just maintain them, and uh, but we do have to commission them after the contractors are done to make sure everything is up to spec and ready to go. So.
Okay, interesting. Now, whenever you're in Beckley or maybe when you're down in Bluefield, um, do you receive a lot of like positive interaction from the locals, or is it like a lot of skepticism? Whenever they find out that you're a West Virginia native, are they kind of relieved? Does it bring a smile to their face? Basically, what I'm getting at here is Tesla's reception and reputation in West Virginia kind of improving as Tesla becomes more of a household name. As I know, 10 years ago, Tesla was much more controversial than it is now, as far as, you know, what they're doing to the automotive industry. Have you received more positive reception once you've been talking to people in the region?
Yeah, like I think I touched on it a little bit earlier. But yeah, I mean, most of the people that I talk to, it's just they're intrigued. They're interested to know how they work. No one has really given me a hard time around here, anyways. Most people are like, "Oh, that's really cool." Uh, just things like that. They're interested to know how long it takes to charge and things like that. And um, I've only had one bad encounter, and it actually wasn't in West Virginia. So
Oh,
I
people
was
are
out of
nice.
state. Yeah.
People are
So
people are nice in West Virginia. I mean,
yeah,
I'm from Texas originally, and I would say that there was a lot more Tesla hate and uh, rolling coal in front of Teslas and stuff like that over in Texas. Here, people just ask questions about my Ionic 5, and I've been by the Tesla supercharger in Princeton, and people just seem to ask questions, and they're genuinely interested. There's
yeah.
not so much of a negative connotation. I like this question from George in the chat. Is it so with your job, is it more dealing with service calls, downtime for the superchargers, or is it more preventative maintenance on these chargers?
No, it's probably 90. I'll say 98% preventative.
That's good.
Um, every once in a while, most of the time, our service calls when something goes wrong is um, power outage, or every once in a while, you get a couple things where there's a charging post that went down or something like that. But it's primarily just preventative. So,
Okay. Now,
yeah.
whenever there's a new installation, I know you don't deal directly with the installations, but do you know if they have to leave space around the supercharger to allow for future growth, such as adding more infrastructure for the Tesla Semi, maybe, or I don't know, even adding a mega pack Tesla battery to make sure that the station is always online even during a power outage. Have you noticed that there's just basically extra space around each supercharger station for future growth?
Yeah, I mean, most of the places that the superchargers are, they're in like a big parking lot, or uh, so there's always room to add stuff. But I think that if we were to like grow more infrastructure here, we would just put it in a new location. Um, if we needed more superchargers, we would just add it to a new location. If you go up north, close to Maryland, DC area, there are 3 or 4 supercharger sites within probably 10 miles of each other, just because there's so many Teslas up there. Like, and instead of just adding them all in one site, they just spread it out between different locations. So that's typically how we tend to place our superchargers.
Yeah, I feel with the way things currently stand, Tesla drivers would hate non-Tesla drivers like me if you guys were to just suddenly open up all of those chargers you're talking about to other brands, because I mean, even on holiday weekends right now, I've seen superchargers that are getting full.
Yeah.
Um, do Tesla drivers ever bring you complaints whenever they see you at the station doing just, doing regular maintenance? Do they ever walk up to you and say, "Hey, have you guys ever thought of doing this or maybe doing it this way?" Do they give you unsolicited suggestions at the stations?
Not about the supercharger sites. But I mean, sometimes you get people who aren't satisfied with something with the car, or they
Hmm.
say, "Hey, is this normal?" or things like that. Or have you? I mean, yeah, they don't talk about the supercharger stations. Most of them are. Whenever I tell them that I work for Tesla, um, they're most of them are always like thankful that
Yeah.
we keep the supercharger stations open as much as we do.
Oh yeah, I'm
Um,
jealous. These Electrify America stations I've been going to, it seems like one out of five charge ports is just not working. So you guys are doing a good job.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, most of them are just like super thankful. Just thanking us for keeping the superchargers up and running. But I mean, uh, everybody has their opinion on how the car should be built or what could be added or taken away. And so, I mean, you get that with any, I mean, even with gas powered vehicles, people like, oh, well, they could put this in there or that. And so, I mean, you get that in every genre of car.
Yeah, and then now I was just thinking about the Tesla Cybertruck. So we already talked about the Semi, but the Cybertruck, do you think that's even gonna fit in the parking spots at the supercharger stations? I would hope it would, considering that it also needs to fit in people's garages and things like that. But wow, do you ever think about the Cybertruck whenever you're doing your job at the superchargers?
No, I haven't. I haven't really thought about it. That you now that you bring it up, but I mean, it shouldn't be any wider than a normal truck.
Yeah.
And the parking spaces at the supercharger sites are normal car width parking spaces, so it should fit just fine. Yeah.
And you usually have a pull-through station, like one pull-through station at each supercharger for those who are hauling a trailer or something like that. I
Mhm.
believe the one in Princeton doesn't, but most of them do.
Yeah.
Um, I wonder if we're gonna end up having a problem where Cybertrucks are taking up the pull-through stall, even if they don't have a trailer, just because they're so big. I don't know. That
Yeah,
would
I
be
mean,
very
I don't know exactly where the charging port is going to be on the Cybertruck, but if it's in like the general area that um, like on all the other Teslas, it should fit just fine in the backup spots. So I mean, it shouldn't have to take up all the pull through ones, but I mean, I guess we'll see.
Are you familiar with any new Tesla Superchargers going in within your region of responsibility? Even though they're contracted out for installation, are you just aware of any others that are coming online soon?
Um, no, I know that they plan to put more in West Virginia. I just they don't. I mean, I don't hear anything until it's put until it's ready to be like brought online. So I mean, I know they're going to bring more to West Virginia. I
Mhm.
just don't know exact locations.
One thing that I really look forward to is the state of West Virginia is going to be installing a fast charger that anyone can use at Tamarack, which is
Okay.
the famous rest area in West Virginia on I-77. Anyone who drives from Florida to the Midwest probably stops there and knows about Tamarack. But yeah, those of us who don't drive a Tesla, we desperately need fast charging solutions in the middle of the state. If I were to drive from Bluefield in southern West Virginia north to Ohio, I may or may not make it because of the lack of charging infrastructure. So I am jealous of what Tesla drivers have with the supercharger network. Another question that I've had is about what it's like to work for Tesla. Do you have any recommendations for maybe rural Americans thinking about working for Tesla or just anyone in general? Because it seems like you've got a really good gig, and hopefully more of that is on the way as EVs get more popular.
Yeah, I mean, they're a great company. This job has um, I've been an electrician my whole life, and I've done all different types of electrical jobs. But Tesla is, I mean, if there's a job in any field of work that everyone wants, like Tesla for an electrician, Tesla is like that job. Like that's the job that you want to work for, or that's the company that you want to work for. Like if you were in uh, some type of tech company, you would want to work for Apple, Google,
Yeah.
whatever. And like for me as an electrician, Tesla is like that company that I would want to work for. But they take care of their employees, and they're just a all around great company. So
The southeastern United States is quickly becoming somewhat of a hub for EV infrastructure manufacturing, with like manufacturing batteries, manufacturing charging stations. Hyundai just announced that they're building a new factory in Savannah, Georgia. You've got Ford over by Nashville, Tennessee, doing a bunch of stuff. Kentucky has recently scored some big manufacturing. I know in West Virginia, we're going to be home to the nation's largest electric school bus manufacturer. So,
okay,
I'm just wondering. I mean, I know you don't have the answer to this, but I'm wondering if eventually maybe our region is going to become home to something Tesla related, something big, maybe even some future factory. It's all speculation, but it would be
yeah,
nice because we could use the jobs here in this region, right?
yeah, for sure. I mean, that would be really cool.
Yep.
Even if it was just like a service center or something like that, that would be really cool.
Oh yeah, and Learning Fast in the chat reminded us that VinFast, which is a Vietnamese electric vehicle maker, they're building a new factory in North Carolina. So that's just yet another example of how quickly, all within just the span of like 2 years, the
Yeah,
southeastern U.S. has really become a hub for EV manufacturing, and hopefully that continues. West Virginia's had just a small piece of the pie so far, but I think it could improve because one thing that we cover here at YAA is the automaker investments in electrification. And right now, we've tallied it up. Any guesses, Tyler, as to how much money all automakers, and we're actually not talking about Tesla, we're talking about legacy automakers, so like Ford, GM, Toyota, Honda, etc.
okay.
How much money combined they have invested in electrifying their lineups? Just give it a wild guess. What do you think it would be?
Um, I mean, probably in the trillions. I don't.
No? It's about $500 billion.
Oh,
That's
okay.
that's a lot of money. That's a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
money 'cause, uh, I know that the brand new Ultium platform from General Motors, that costed about $1 to $2 billion to engineer with LG
yeah,
Chem. Um, and I know Tesla works with a lot of different battery manufacturers. They work with LG Chem, Panasonic, CATL. So just think all these vehicles that you're helping to keep powered, they've got very different battery manufacturers, working on the actual production process for those Model Ys, Model 3s, etc. So very, very interesting job that you have.
yeah.
But I guess we could go ahead and wrap it up. Do you have any questions for me? Nope,
Nope.
we're all good.
Maybe let me take a drive in that Ionic 5.
Yeah, you do like the Ionic 5. It's not just another of the, million Model Ys on the road, but yeah, it
Yeah,
is quite different.
yeah,
Well, I don't think you'd like it so much if you saw how hard it is for me to drive from Southern West Virginia to, like, Wheeling, where my wife is from. It's tough because of the lack of charging infrastructure. So,
yeah, yeah, for
oh,
sure.
yeah, maybe I'll just, put a Tesla badge on it and pull into the superchargers.
Yeah, there you go. Try and make the connector fit in your
Yeah,
charge port.
yeah. Oh, I would gladly pay a premium to be able to use the supercharger network. I know that Tesla drivers usually pay, what, 28 cents a kilowatt hour, something like that?
Yeah, I
Maybe
think so.
maybe up to 35 cents now, but, I mean, I don't care. If Tesla wants to charge me 70 cents a kilowatt hour, that's outrageous. I would pay it just because I desperately need charging solutions further north in our state. But
Yeah,
Tyler, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'd love to have you back maybe in a year once we have a better grasp on what electrification is looking like in rural America, because things are changing quickly. I mean, they really are. And I would love to check back with you and see what's new in Tesla world and what's new in your career. And we can talk more about that, when the time comes. But thank you so much for being here today.
yeah. Thank you for having me. I hope I answered all the questions.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
And I'll make sure and give you a ride in the Ionic 5 sometime soon.
there you go.
Well,
Sounds good.
thank you for everyone for joining us, and we'll be back on Monday with another episode of Plugged In from YAA Electric. You guys have a wonderful weekend. Bye bye.